Arise of Awakener is an upcoming third-person fantasy medieval action RPG, currently being developed by a company by the name of Tanner Game and published by Gamera Game. The current projected release date is 2023, and it should be coming out on PC, PS4, and PlayStation 5. But before we get too deep into it, let's address the first elephant in the room, and that being the name of the game, Arise of Awakener. Some people seem to think that Arise is the name of the protagonist, and Awakener is the name of the town that the protagonist is from. So that would kind of be like Bob of Washington, which is actually kind of a sick name for an RPG if you ask me. Others are saying that the company just doesn't know how to translate things well, and it should be something like Arise of the Awakened, which is more in line with some of the descriptions of the game that I've seen. Or maybe there's just a hidden message behind the title that we are all ignorant of. But whatever it's supposed to be, or whatever they want it to be, or whatever they intend it to mean, when it comes down to it, I don't really care, as long as the game turns out to be an epic adventure. I will say though that as a native English speaker, Arise means to emerge or become apparent, and Awakener I guess could mean someone who wakes up. So at first glance, I did see the title as meaning something like
The Emerging of the Waking Upper, 2023.
I also want to point out that the gameplay footage shown in this video is gameplay from early development, so make sure to keep that in mind. Many things are subject to change and improve, of course, and that may also go for the title. On a side note, thank you guys so much for helping me get to 70k subscribers. 100k is the next goal. If you're new around here, I do all sorts of RPG content, news, reviews, live streams, lore videos, and much, much more. Let's get back at it. The second elephant in the room is that Bob of Washington looks like it could be a Dragon's Dogma 2. And this isn't really an elephant in the room because I think this is probably a very good thing for many gamers. Dragon's Dogma came out in 2012 and is oftentimes referred to as the sleeper RPG that no one saw coming, and it certainly has become a cult classic over the years. Dragon's Dogma is also a fairly unique game, so having more games with a similar style I think is probably great for the industry as a whole. Let me know if you're a DD fan below in the comments. Before I get into more details on the game itself, let me introduce you to the developers and publisher Tanner Game and Gamera Game. Well, actually, I take that back because there's not much info out there for those who can't read Chinese. From what I can tell, Tanner Game is a new Chinese game development company. If you do a quick search, you may find a Turkish company with the same name, but it doesn't appear to be the same company. The publisher Gamera Game is also a Chinese company, and on their site you can see a list of games that they have been involved with, none of which I am personally familiar with. Moving on. Arise of Awakener's IGN description reads as, Arise of Awakener is a single-player, open-map, action role-playing game set in a fantasy world based upon medieval Europe. In this world, players will ride dragons, command airships, and partake in engaging combat encounters against a collection of fantastical creatures as they take on the role of an adventurer and... is this a run-on sentence? And embark on a path of revenge and redemption. On the Gamera Game YouTube channel, we can also read that you'll be able to play as a warrior, archer, and mage. However, after closely examining the gameplay footage, there appears to be a few characters that may be on the outskirts of those traditional class descriptions. We can see a character that appears to be very rogue assassin-like with dual knives or daggers, and also a character wielding a really cool spear of some sort. It is of course possible that these characters do still fall into one of those three mentioned classes. Perhaps you can build down different trees or subclasses, but however it turns out, it does seem like we will have some player agency in terms of how we want to play our classes. And just so you guys know, for some reason I feel like I can't speak while I'm recording this video. As I mentioned earlier, we will be riding dragons and commanding airships, and this would likely indicate that the game's world is of a decent size, unless the airships are instanced areas to simulate fast travel. We did get to see a bit of airship combat, which is pretty awesome, and I'm really getting the feeling that this would be a great multiplayer game, especially on these airships, but the IGN description is where it says single player, and I think companies pay big money to get their trailers and their words on IGN's channel. We also got to see the player riding a horse, and if you notice, the player draws their sword, which shows us that we will also see mounted combat. So ground action combat in the style of Dragon's Dogma, riding dragons, airship pirate battles, and mounts. I have to say that this game has caught my interests. On top of all this, we do see the player character harvesting some sort of plant, and also mining what appears to be some type of crystal ore, so perhaps there will be a crafting system in the game as well. After watching this trailer several times, I do have to say that I am getting a feeling that this game just may turn out to be a gem, hence why I decided to do a video on it. I'm getting a similar feeling to what I felt when I saw a trailer for a game called Outward back in 2019. And Outward, despite having a low budget, being made by only 11 developers, and having rather choppy combat, turned out to be one of my favorite games of all time. A Rise of Awakening currently does look a little on the rough side, but considering that the game is still likely a couple years away from release, if this can be polished up a bit, which I would assume it will be, we might have another cult classic. I do also want to point out that there has been rumors and leaks on Dragon's Dogma 2 coming in 2023, but it hasn't officially been announced by Capcom themselves, so 2023 might be a great year for those of you that are fans of the style of Dragon's Dogma. Be pretty cool to get both of these games in different parts of the year. And that'll be it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll be sure to keep an eye out on this game, and anytime something is posted that I feel is video worthy or newsworthy, I'll be sure to keep you guys updated here on this channel. Have a good one.